Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us for the CrunchCast, episode 13. I am your host, Chris Holden, and here's everybody's favorite guest, John Jones.
Hi, everybody.
How you doing tonight, John?
Doing pretty good, pretty good. I was ramping up and getting ready for my trip out there to Denver to go see UFC with you and do an in-studio CrunchCast. That should be fun.
That should be great. Yep.
And where's Brian tonight?
I believe
doing pull-ups.
He's doing pull-ups, one-arm pull-ups. I believe he has a date tonight. I asked him earlier, and he said he had a date. So,
well, good for him.
But yeah, it's great. Go for a date. So yeah, we're back here for the 13th episode, and you can check out all our previous episodes on crunchstudios.com. You can find the YouTube, so you can find them all on YouTube, you can find them all on Vimeo, and we also have MP3 format available for people that just want the audio.
How convenient. And soon iTunes, I believe, correct?
Yeah, we're working on getting everything figured out. There's a bunch of stuff I need to get figured out, and it's just a matter of time. Like just tonight, I got this whole video thing figured out a little different, where I had the intro, I actually played the intro in the this little editor here. Now it just played, and then flipped over to our little graphic at the bottom. Doesn't have that nice smooth transition that we usually get from me fading the video in the video editor. However, if all this works out like I think it did, then this is going to be a very smooth episode to record. So yeah,
badass. Getting the hangs of the technologies.
It only takes a little while, a few dozen of these, and we'll figure it out.
Not sure how many more I have in me.
I know,
I'm just so uncomfortable talking on camera or to an audience, you know. It's not my nature.
It's not. I understand. So, hey, let's go right with the good old-fashioned format of it and say, hey, what's in the gaming news, the video games? What has happened this week? First of all, you got the Diablo 3 beta key.
Indeed I did. It's fucking amazing. I'm not as big a Diablo 2 fan as you are because you're just ridiculously hardcore, but I've put probably a good 100 hours into D2. And I've got about a good 2-3 hours into Diablo 3 so far. Just there, I haven't hit the end of it yet because I had some work stuff to do. But it's basically you watch the walkthrough. It's like a basic, like an initial, one dungeon crawl and a couple missions kind of thing. I mean, but
yeah, I watched this video where it took about 22 minutes and it was a 1080p video on YouTube. It's excellent quality. It's just like watching the game. It's
a hell of a thing. And, I mean, I'm truly impressed. It feels exactly like Diablo 2. Exactly like it. I mean, same everything. It's just a hell of a lot more polished. The production values are even better. It seriously feels like exactly the same thing. I think it's a massive artistic and technical achievement. I am loving it. I've played a Barbarian and Monk so far, and I'm going to play through the entire thing with every single character class I can and just see what happens.
Yeah, sure.
And it is, my God, it's beautiful. It's so fucking beautiful.
Yeah, it does look good. In that video I saw, I was just like, man, this is the best dungeon art I think I've ever seen.
And that's your thing.
Yeah, I love making dungeons.
But, man, they know what's up. I think my kitchen's getting flooded.
Flooded?
Yeah, my drain is clogged, and I am running my dishwasher, and I hear a lot of water hitting the floor in my kitchen. I'll deal with it later.
Cool. Well, if it gets too bad, you can check it out. Yeah, so what else was there? There was the Diablo thing.
And THQ has Crytek on board to make the next Homefront game.
Yeah, people are talking about that. That should look pretty cool. Speaking of looking cool, Gears of War 3 came out.
Yes, I'm really looking forward to that. I need to get my 360 fixed.
Yeah, mine's all red. Dude, I still have Gears of War 2 in the plastic because I red ringed before I got it. And it was a gift from Chris White, Telekinetic Frog. Thank you very much. I have played it, but I played somebody else's copy.
Mm-hmm. Gears 2 is probably my favorite action game of all time. I beat it in one, I think, 11 or 12 hour continuous sitting, which I've never done with a game before, not to completion. Holy shit, blew me away. Gears 3, the reviews are pretty crazy from what I hear. I'm really excited to check it out. I just gotta drop, I guess, $100 on the 360.
I really enjoyed Gears 1.
Oh,
I mean,
I enjoyed it too, but sorry, go on.
I was gonna say, my dad, he doesn't really know or care anything about video games, but he had always saw the games that I played growing up, and he just saw like sprites or whatever moving on the screen. And he said it wasn't until he saw Gears of War that he's like, oh wow, this is the next level. Like this is something more. Like
Absolutely.
They're like, man, this is serious.
They do it right.
And if you really look at them, most games really kind of looked like sprites on the screen until games like that came along.
Yeah, I mean, I really feel like Gears is a game changer, and I'm glad it's got the level of commercial and critical success that it has. Although I personally didn't like the first one a whole lot, I didn't end up finishing it. I guess I was expecting more of an action game and less of a duck behind things game.
Oh, sure.
Gears 2 felt a little more actiony to me, but the first one, it's like you are a gigantic space marine with like a neck as big around as a tree trunk, and you can run 2 miles an hour and 2 bullets kill you. Which is, really picky, but it's just like, yeah, like macho, 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 da, 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 boop, boop, oh, dead, for like everything.
Yeah, that's always really funny about things like that. Like, I remember when I was playing through Crysis 2, and I'm wearing that super suit, I'm like, and then there's specific sections where it's like, well, here's the section where if you fall off the buildings, you die. Even though it's only like a 3-story high building. And there's parts where you specifically use your armor to do stuff like that. And at the beginning of Crysis 1, you fall out of an airplane all the way down onto a rock and you're fine. But yeah, just weird things like that. Or like when you see, oh, here's a window where a helicopter just crashed through the whole side of this building and destroyed it. And I can look right out to the way I'm supposed to go, but I can't go that way. I have to go down this winding path through the building. And even though I've got the super suit on, I can't just walk right out the side of this hole in the building. But when they do stuff like that in games, I'm like, come on, guys. That's just silly.
Obviously, it's not that super suit.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, hang on for just 1 sec. I'm going to put that towel down. My kitchen sounds like it's flooding pretty bad.
Sure, yeah, no
I'll
problem.
be right back.
Sounds great. Gosh, I can't even think of any other game news besides that. Shoot. I've been playing a lot of Minecraft lately. That's all good fun. And oh yeah, we're going into our beta testing in Nexus in studio. So if you're in the Denver area or whatever, you could actually sign up and come test the game for us. It's all on our Facebook, stuff like that. And I have no links to tell you. I think I might have one. Nope, not up yet. Okay. Well, once those links get up, I'll tell you. Anyway, this week on the CrunchCast, we got a few viewer questions in. Some of those are dealing with the actual job application process.
Yes.
And I also got a question from, and I forgot who asked me this and where it came from, but it was something to do with the process of creating environment art. So we can kind of go like a half and half on that, where we do a little bit about this, a little bit about that.
Little from column A, little from column B.
And hey, I got some nerd credibility with my Magic the Gathering Portal mug that I'm drinking from.
Nice. I worked on I contracted on a Magic the Gathering game for a little while. Like those guys, and they're just the quality of art within throughout that entire IP is just absolutely stunning.
Oh god, yeah, dude. It's some of that art is just crazy, and it's all like these paintings. One of the artists that did a lot of the originals, like his name was Douglas Schuler, and actually,
Doug.
Yeah, Doug. You remember Doug?
I remember Doug.
We actually hired Doug to do all our concept art for Nano. No, or Nano Legends, I guess. That's a little educational game me and John and a few other guys did. But I used to sit right next to the guy at back when I worked at Jaleco, and that was kind of a trip to be like, whoa, I used to have all your Magic cards. And
oh, I bet.
He was the guy that painted like Icy Manipulator, and if you play Magic, that's like one of the main, or was. I don't know what's going on anymore. I haven't played it in who knows, like a decade, but...
Yeah, you're more of a Yu-Gi-Oh guy now, right?
Yu-Gi-Oh, yeah, not Pokemon, bro. Get my deck. Nah.
Yeah, you should bring that stuff out on camera.
What, Pokemon stuff? If McConnell was here, dude, Brian's all about Pokemon. He's got cards and stuff. He's got all these characters at his desk. Remember when
Nice.
McDonald's recently had all those little toys you could buy? They went and bought, like, a bunch of the guys at work went and bought all of them. We talked about this before. I'm not talking about this again.
God,
Anyway.
you guys are such nerds. That's awesome.
Oh, but make video games all day. What do you think we do?
Basically, yeah. I can't wait to hang out with you guys again. You guys are a blast.
Oh, it's going to be great, man. So, yeah, John's flying in this Friday.
Friday through Tuesday. It's going to be a good time.
Oh, here's kind of a weird thing. I tweeted about this earlier. I bought a bike. I had a bike before. I've biked plenty of my life, but I had to get a new bike because my old bike was really down in the dumps.
I remember seeing it on your patio.
Yeah, it didn't work. It's all rusted out. Anyway, so June 16th, I bought a new bike, and I've ridden it to work every day since then.
3 months, nice.
Yeah, and I did a little calculation. Of course, as far as all those days that I actually rode to the end of summer was around 87 days total. Because I had this crazy goal. I'm like, wait a minute, I bought this bike right before summer started. That means if I could ride it every day of the summer, and today's the first day of fall, so I pretty much totally made it, and it's
nicely done.
A fun accomplishment for me. A harsh reality for most of the world. And
harsh realities for most of the world are Tuesdays for Chris.
Yeah, no. I did a little calculation. This is give or take a few miles, because there's always a day where there was a few days where it'd be like severely raining and I'd need a ride home or something like that. Mm-hmm. It's over 500 miles total.
Holy crap! I was going to guess 14 million. I was way off.
14 million. No, it gets work is like 3 miles away, and so there and back. So yeah,
that's super doable. I did that I did that every day for almost 3 months. My car's in the shop for that hailstorm. That's a really doable distance.
It's at first you're like, "Ooh, this is harsh," but after the first week, it's a breeze.
Well, and you're in Denver. You got the whole thin air thing going on.
Yeah, we're high altitude.
Yeah, that's perfect. Great cardio training.
I'm in such great shape. Actually, it did. Dude, I can see my lower abs now. It's weird.
Nice.
I haven't seen those in years. Not since my 20s.
Fatty.
Yeah, I know, right? It's pretty cool, though.
Nice. I admire that you have the discipline, the patience, and the wherewithal to.
There was a lot of days where I was like, I do not want to ride this bike, but you gotta fight those battles to win the war.
I know what you mean.
And I've ridden my bike to work before too. Like back when I was in Nebraska, I used to ride my bike all the time. Or when I was at Mythic, man, I used to walk to work every day. Anyway, let's just get right to it with them crazy questions.
Indeedly do. Viewer questions.
Our biggest fan, our biggest fan, Zach D. He had a few questions for us. He's a Polycat member, and I play Minecraft with him sometimes. Cool guy. Lives out in Kansas somewhere or something. Who knows? Anyway, he has a few questions, like a big 3-parter deal, which kind of leads us into our whole first topic of applying for a job. Yeah, we've talked about portfolios and stuff, but we haven't really been over any of that, about the process of actual application. So what we'll do is we'll just go with his questions and then fill in the blanks. As according? Easy enough?
Let's go.
All right.
Like the listener from Kansas, you're on the line.
Zach from Kansas. Okay, here we go. Here's his first question. Is what type of job training should a new hire expect at an entry-level position? Now, what he means by this is, okay, you've never had a game job before, you just got your first job, and it's like, yeah, entry-level. So, again, first job, first time. What should be expected of this person?
Very good question.
First of all, I just always have to throw it out. Again, it really depends on the place you're at and the position you're applying for. Now, I have a feeling most of his questions are directed more towards, say, art, like environmental art and characters. So we'll just stick with that.
Company size is a factor as well.
Company size, yeah. So anyway, feel free to toss in some notes on that.
Just based on my own experiences and what I've seen, if you're at a small company, everybody's going to be expected to wear a million hats. And pretty much immediately, I imagine there's going to be a list of tasks that the company wants to have done, and they're going to put as many of them on you as possible. And to some extent, it's going to be up to you to sort of figure out how that works. But you're going to have, I'd say, depending on how many people you interact with directly, maybe like anywhere between 1 and 3 people, you're just going to have to shadow for like the first few days to weeks.
Yes, and this is a small company, yes.
Yeah, and for a large company, it's probably going to be something at least slightly more formal. There'll be more documentation and whatnot. Like in my experience, yeah, hopefully. And like in some experiences I've had, and from what I've heard, let's say a company, it's anywhere from like 50 to 100 people. It's been around for anywhere for 5, 6 years. At some point, they're probably going to get some documentation down, and they're probably just going to give you a list of shit to read through, like design docs, style guide, technical processes, and whatnot. And it's just going to be homework to some extent. And
God bless you. God bless you.
God. Allergies. Ugh. But it's going to be a bit of homework. And then they'll start sort of like, ramping in tasks, or you may just have a massive task list and say, okay, read this, then start, ask us if you have questions. But, I mean, a huge amount of it, I think no matter where you are, I guess I would think that the difference between a small company and a large company is the amount of documentation there's going to be and how busy everybody else is on a thing. But a lot of it is just going to be homework and shadowing people. It's not going to be like a formal training. I don't even know of any company large enough to have any kind of formal training process, but so much of it really is learn as you go. And
I've had plenty of, I was going to say, I've had plenty of places that would, put a new hire near me to mentor them with the basics of here's what we do and here's the technical things of getting assets in or any other place they need help. There's somebody who can step them through the processes of working with the art pipeline, getting art in the engine in game.
And one thing is not if you're going to be shadowing somebody. Depending on their level of seniority, they may be more of a person that just does the work and is not used to actually training someone. So not everything may necessarily come to mind immediately. I mean, it really depends on personality, but a lot of it may be the burden should be on you at least somewhat to pay as much attention as possible and ask as many questions as possible.
Yeah, talk to everybody.
God, yeah. Like, okay, let's say you're shadowing a guy that's been there for 5 years. He's going to know pretty much everything by heart. He's going to have it down pat. It's going to be to the point where he doesn't even think about what he's doing or the 10 steps he's taking to get there. And it's just like this many processes just in his mind is just a single thing. It's a single component of every step throughout the art pipeline. So ask questions, pay attention, and just don't be shy to ask. Like if you hold back and you don't ask a question, and if you see something you should ask about but you're too shy about it or don't think to ask, that's really not going to reflect well on you. And even if you feel like you're annoying them by asking, if you can't figure it out on your own pretty quick or you're unsure, just ask, pay attention, and show that you care. And just give them, just make sure that you show them you're paying attention.
You know how many times in a day I ask, hey, what's the CVAR for? And then, whatever. Mm-hmm. CVAR, console variable or console command. Anyway, if you make games, you know what that is. I broke your train of thought. Go ahead.
It's short for caviar.
Caviar
was my read on it. But yeah, ask questions, pay attention, show that you're engaged, and show them that you're thinking through that entire process, thinking through the pipeline, visualizing it in your head, and take notes.
Yes, I was just about to say. Even if they have documentation, you may want to consider documenting your own process, which you have learned through the other developers and through your own experience, because it helps me so much. Like, it is the worst feeling in the world when you started a new company using like a new piece of software and like a new like say you just worked in Maya for the past 10 years and all of a sudden, hey, we work in Max at this company. Oh, sure. Well, yeah, that you can still do it because a tool is a tool, but you have to learn all of those processes, which is a new word I'm working on. But yeah, I immediately save onto my desktop a todo.txt file, just a straight up notepad file and I just paste in everything. I'm like, oh, this is it. Or how do I export a file? I go, this process, or what's the hotkeys, and I'll just write them in. What are these console commands? I write them down. I save everything, and like even when a league comes over and starts giving me feedback, I'm like, hold on, and I start writing it down. There was one time I was at a very large company, and the lead came over, and I was like, hold on a second. I started writing it down in a list, and he clearly saw that it was a list that I had on my, it had a whole bunch of stuff in it, and I was like hitting save as he's talking and stuff, and he's like, I really like that you're doing that.
It shows you're listening.
Well, it's just, look, a lot. You know, everybody always says, I forget names. No, you forget everything. The human brain, to retain everything, it's difficult to retain this high amount of things that are coming at you, especially as you just got a new job at a new company. That means everywhere you go, everything you look at is brand new. Every single face you see is brand new, and they're interesting people doing interesting things that you want to know about, and you want to know these people. So you're just being bombarded by information. So your brain isn't going to be able to retain half of it.
No, absolutely.
So it's so important to take notes. Anyway.
Yeah, take notes. And one thing, something that's helped me in the past that is 100% relates to take notes is I used to have, I'm a reader. I love reading. And I used to have terrible retention of what I read. So what I started doing was I would take Post-it notes and I'd read through a page, pages after pages. For every page I learned something, I would take a Post-it note and I'd summarize the hell out of it, like in a tiny, tiny bolded list that could fit into as little space as possible on one Post-it, and then leave it on that page. And in writing it down that way, it forced me to basically condense an entire page of information down to little bullet points that mean something to me that will help me remember. And then I would transcribe those notes later, and like when I was done with the book, into one big thing. I've done this for dozens of books, but over time, this is the important thing. Over time, it trained me to be able to not even have to bother writing it down. I'd know how to condense information mentally into tiny tidbits that are easy for me to remember. And if you're ramping up to a new job and learning new processes and learning just how the hell to do anything,
that's not a bad idea.
Yeah,
I do the same thing.
It will train your mind.
I'll throw down an anecdote about my art history book. When I was in college, I took art history, and it was a stupid class with a dumb teacher that didn't know shit. Now, she was all right, but the way the class was all we did was sit in this classroom, and she had slides, and she'd just open up a slide and be like, here's this thing. It was made by so-and-so. It's made of this material. It was made this year. Next slide. So that was a bullshit class, dude. All the way. So I got nothing out of it. However, the book after school has been one of the best things I've ever had. I love this art history book. I read through it all the time. But over the years, since I've had this book for almost about 16 years now, I put in notes and just pieces of paper, whatever. And the other day I was at work, and I was talking to the other artists, Cole, about we're talking about arches for some reason. And he starts just picking up one of my books, going through it. He's like, I can find it here. I'm like, no, get this book. And he picked up the book and he starts going through it. I'm like, no, hold on. I just put my finger on one bookmark. I'm like, shroop, right to all of these arches. I'm like, next. I'm like, here, check this out. Next bookmark. Boom. I had every arch through history, like labeled. And there's more than that. I have all kinds of things, like different reliefs, different mediums. But they're specifically marked with all these bookmarks I have.
Nice.
It made it so much easier.
And it trains your mind to, like, if you can remember like a particular tag or a particular just something. A tag is, I think, a perfect way of describing it. If you can remember that thing in your mind, even if you can't remember every single thing that that you need to know, if you can remember a tag that reminds you exactly where it is or what it means or what the important pertinent bits of data are, in a way that's even better than remembering.
Oh God. Actually, I heard about this. There was a recent, I don't know what they call it. I'm really bad about my information on this right now. It was some sort of study where the way the human brain has changed, actually, over the last few years, is that the results found that people found it, their brains have been trained and found it easier to know where to find information as opposed to remembering the information. And I think what that was attributed to more is, for some reason my camera is all blurry right now. I don't know what it's doing. There it goes. apparently part of this was attributed to the fact that the way the internet's been around long enough that people's brains are starting to change, because you have this instant attachment to the answer to pretty much any basic question is available on the internet. Now, obviously, there's some deep questions that you could find your own community of nutcases that all believe this one thing, and there you are. And however, most basic things like who was Frederick Douglass, or what year was Andrew Jackson born? These types of questions. This type of information, apparently the brain is being rewired that it doesn't necessarily require this information. So this ability to know where to find that information is becoming more valuable to the brain.
Absolutely. I think something that would stem logically from that is being able to have the ability to understand that, recognize it consciously, and to be able to organize things based on that, and knowing that, and becoming organized just personally and professionally is a tremendous asset professionally. You don't have to know everything at any given time. You should learn as much as you can, but if you can remember where to find it and how to do that easily so you can recall it almost as quickly as possible without just immediate memory recall, then that's great. And one thing I wanted to mention earlier is in terms of writing things down and its importance, one of the mottos that I live by is, it does not exist unless it is written down. Never trust your memory for anything ever. That's why I always carry around
I agree with that
a moleskin, a pocket notebook. I filled like 8 or 9 of these over the last 4 or 5 years. Carry it with me every single place I go. Anytime I need to remember anything, I write it down in there. And nothing in my life exists unless it is written down in there, so I can remember it. I give myself pertinent details so I can recall it. So if I look at it a year later and I open it up and I look at a single page, I'll know exactly what it means, why I wrote it down, and what I was supposed to do with it.
Oh, one of my oldest articles written back in 2005 that I still actually maintain because it's not that wrong. It stood the test of time, you know what I mean? Like, your portfolio repels jobs. It stood the test of time because one of the tips that I put in there is write everything down.
Yes.
It's God. Because it doesn't matter. Look, you're going to have a lot of ideas all through the day, and you're going to think they're great, but you write them down and you come back later and that was dumb. But if you write them all down, 1 in 10, 1 in 50, 1 in 100 are at least going to be all right. So go with it. And speaking of articles and retaining this information, you got johnjones.com.
I did. So I've always branded myself with my name, or at least as early as I possibly could, and so I started out in the Quake 2 modding community as Shine, and eventually I wanted to do it. But that was my old nickname, Shine. And I'd taken a shine to it, you might say. And I decided that I wanted to start going by my real name, but I had to transition out of that. So I went by John Shine Jones. And then eventually just straight to John Jones. I've done that since maybe 2000, 2001. I started taking my name seriously. It's a ridiculously common, generic-ass name, but I work in games. I blog a lot. I write a lot. I like these days I speak a lot. I've been published in magazines. I socialize. I'm on every social network. I socialize like a motherfucker. My entire business right now is in socializing and networking, and my name's a really big thing. Something that has stuck in my craw for quite a time was not having bought johnjones.com when I could, or when I could have years ago. And I've been waiting 11 years to get johnjones.com, and this week I finally did. I had 11 years of waiting, and finally it's mine, and I'm ridiculously happy about that.
Yay!
So I have johnjones.com and John Jones Twitter, which probably makes the dude in the UFC pretty pissed. But
I'm sure he's all right. You know why? Because
he's like 9.
Is tall and amazing and a champion. And we're gonna watch him fight this weekend.
We get to see him kick ass. See, what's funny is when I booked the tickets to go see UFC, I was so excited just to go see UFC. I didn't even realize that John Jones.
John Jones is flying to Denver to see John Jones, who flew to Denver, fight.
I wish there's. I'd love to be able to interact with him directly in some way. I think that'd be really funny. But. Yeah,
he's too busy for that.
I answer tweets for him all the time.
Oh, yeah, that's funny. Anyway, let me just go ahead and quickly. I just want to wrap up, kind of conclude on this first question about if what type of training should a new hire expect. And I just want to kind of say, look, if you're a new hire, it's like I said again. It depends on the company. I feel like you should have a basic command of modeling, UVing, and texturing, which obviously these days and age can be just diffuse painting, like hand painting art, as well as again if you're applying for a job at a company that's doing like a high poly modeling or normal map baking, you should have a basic command of this process. You don't have to be great at it, UVs and all that stuff. You don't have to be super awesome. It's going to help you a lot to have been able to present scenes in real time, such as like UDK, Unity, CryEngine 3, whatever. As long as you can present it in real time, you're showing a basic understanding of the process, and you've dealt with the process of getting art in a real time environment. So at least you understand that. And on top of that, just being very willing to learn and being very open. I've seen it more often than not, cases where you've got a guy who's like on a forum or something trying to get a job, and he's posting, but he's not being very receptive to feedback. Well, the first thing you think, well, I wouldn't want to work with this guy. So obviously, no one's going to work with him. But I've also seen guys that have taken incredible leaps, risky leaps, off the word of someone just giving them advice, and it working out great for them. Because when someone sees them take a risky leap, and they're like, well, he's real. The thing about art, and really any idea, like look at science. Every few years, there's something new and something's disproven. You really can't cling on to anything at the end of the day. You have to be open-minded about these ideas. You have to be, and as technology improves, you have to be. This is where it really comes up and is important. If you're not like listening to people, it's only going to be a few years before everything you're doing is just out of date, done, of no value.
The mind has to grow. And just two other things I wanted to just add, like quickly, so sort of on that note, but also on the what to expect when you get hired note. First thing, don't ever psych yourself out of applying for a job or trying for something because you don't think you're good enough. You're going to be your own worst critic if you're, healthy and healthy mind as an artist. Let them decide for you. Let them decide if you're suitable or not. Because honestly, most job requirements are a wish list. And when you're hiring, like
one of the questions actually is about this, but go ahead.
Okay. One of the things that someone like an art director, a lead artist, or whatever looks for when they're vetting an artist, considering working with them, is not just where they are artistically in terms of skill set and quality, but where they think you can go. So even if you don't measure up to exactly what they're looking for,
piece of advice right there. I know what you mean exactly by that, because there's so many times when you see a guy who's like, oh yeah, this guy would be really good of some direction. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, and you can look at someone and see just through their art and through the way they conduct themselves, like in an interview or online, their website, portfolio, forums, whatever. You can see the way they conduct themselves and get a sense of their personality, and you can extrapolate that. You can say, like, okay, their art is here. They need to be here, but they seem like they have an open and willing mind, and I can see where over X number of months or years they can go from here to here and even beyond. And that's something that we look for. So don't ever psych yourself out and think, oh my God, I have to be the biggest, rockingest AAA superstar on earth. Just be humble, open, receptive, like Chris said, and more things can happen than you'd think.
I know more artists that are, when they do personal work, it is like, what is this stupid shit you are doing, sir? But when you see their professional work, it's just mind-blowing.
It's okay because you said sir.
Yeah. Because you're respecting him. Because the guy that you know that is good because you've seen his personal art. Like, I've seen guys that have done work on major titles that is like, God, that is amazing. That is so cool. And really what it came down to was the people around him were so inspiring and uplifting. plus the fact that they were getting incredible concept art and incredible feedback, like the highest level of concept art, the highest level of feedback on high level work. Like there's projects where, and I think everybody that worked on a Warhammer Online could say that the art that we got the opportunity to do on that elevated everyone involved, because it has such a rich story background and such great concept art attached to it that like almost every piece you got to do was like, oh wow, I get to do this one. You know, even the smallest thing. Like I did a wagon that, you know, it's like, oh, it's a wagon. It's, you know, it's a little prop.
I remember that wagon.
But then when you play the game, that wagon is freaking everywhere.
That's important to remember.
So yeah, so that wagon got in my portfolio on account of that. But anyway, I'm just saying
there are no small jobs.
Yeah, and just because you think, oh, my art isn't so great, well, maybe you just haven't found the right project. Maybe you have a technical ability that's going to get you into a position on a project that's amazing, that all of a sudden you're going to be working under this amazing concept art with the top level of guidance, and you'll be producing this stuff that you've never done before. And that's, you know, like I said, don't think you're not good enough. Go for it.
Yeah, I'd say exactly, and I'd say it's really common across a lot of artists, or most artists. But in my experience, so when you brought me on to work on Gore back in like 2001, is that right? When you brought me on
it was probably before that, because the game actually shipped in 2002.
Okay, so it's like 2000, 2001-ish. When you brought me on to work on that, I'd been making art on my own for fun, and dealing Polycat and everything for like 3 to 5 years. I'd worked my ass off, and then I knew within like the first month or two of working on an actual game, almost everything I knew was shit, and I learned more in the first couple months than I had in the previous 5 years. And that's just the way it's going to go. When you're in a development environment, you're going to be basically springboarding off of everybody else's skills and talents.
If you're entry level, coming into your first real job, everything you do is going to blow away everything you did. Unless you're one of those dudes that's just awesome. Those kids. Those kids that are like 14, like who's this one kid on Polycount, like racers and some numbers? This kid, he was awesome like really young, and he's been there for years now, and he's going to go right into it. He's probably already made money. I'm not like following him or anything. I don't keep up. Mm-hmm. Look, if you're under a certain age, I can't follow you in any way. It's illegal. It's against the law.
You met me when I was 12.
Yeah, well, I was 16 at the time too, so you know what I mean.
Oh my God, that's been so much time.
So yeah, let's jump right into the next question, which is a interesting piece of advice, possibly. And you're
actually, I'm gonna let you pause that really quick. I'm gonna check in my kitchen just super fast.
Oh yeah.
Be right back.
Yeah, I'll go into this myself. So yeah, check this out. The next question was: is the best way to fill out your resume to just reversing the requirements and pluses on the job posting of the company's websites? And what let me kind of translate that, because that's a complicated question. It's a very good question as well. But basically what it's asking is, when you are applying for a job and you see, hey, here are the job requirements, and then you look at your resume and you say, well, what do I have listed in my resume? And what he's talking about is like reverse engineering the job you're applying for. Whoa, what was that? To set up your portfolio and resume, sorry. So there's two ways of looking at this, in my opinion. And I've done this myself. There's been jobs that I've applied for. If you look at my portfolio right now, honestly, what does that sound?
I have returned.
Okay. I just heard a weird buzzing sound. Is there anything at your place that made a buzzing sound?
No.
Okay. It sounded to me like a cell phone on vibrate, but I'm gonna click one thing real quick. All right, I think we're good. Okay, I'm back to it. Okay, just so you can get the recap here quick, John. Is the question was this one about adjusting your resume based on the requirements listed in a job application?
That's a really good idea, actually.
What I was going into with my own personal anecdote there was about how there was like I said, my portfolio right now it's all over the place. It's just having a good time. I've got a job. I'm not looking right now. My portfolio. It's all over the place. Don't worry about that. But when I'm applying for a specific job, I will adjust my portfolio to the type of art that they're looking for. So
absolutely,
if I had I've got a pile of hand-painted textures and all that stuff, like fantasy art, medieval. I love that stuff. It's a good time. I love anything fantasy, sci-fi, blah blah blah. However, if I'm applying for a job on a realistic project where it's like making a city and streets and whatnot, photoreal stuff, this wouldn't really want to be the stuff that I have in my portfolio. Now, for me, I've been around long enough that I'm blessed with the fact that I have enough content that I have that option available. If you're just getting started, however, you may only have the pieces you have. However, if you can do a piece a month, in 1 year you got 12 pieces.
Bam.
Quit being a bitch. Do work. No, but what do you think about that, John? The whole idea of adjusting your own resume based on the job you're applying for.
Honestly, I've thought about doing. I actually do that with my own resume. Granted, I'm more management now. Anything from like art outsourcing manager to art producer, like a lead artist. Like once or twice, I'd applied for like art director. I have a different resume for each one of those that has a different title and slightly different wording and tailoring toward that particular position above something else. Because fundamentally, I mean, just like with a portfolio, exactly like what you're saying. If you're applying for a job, if you want to work on Call of Duty, you're not going to show them your Warhammer stuff because it's realistic versus hand painted. I think that also extends to a resume. You want to match the pattern of what they're looking for. If they're looking for a guy that is, let's say you do characters and you do environments, and you haven't really committed to one or the other, but you're competent at each. If you apply for a job that's for an environment artist and you bill yourself as characters environments or a character artist, they're going to say, why is a character artist applying to be an environment artist? So you don't want to have to make them imagine.
It's not that you're hurting anybody. It's just there's a confusion of, wait a minute, what are all these characters doing here?
Yeah, and just picture yourself as one person in 100 that's going to be applying for this.
Absolutely. You're one in who knows how many.
And that's why you should never take anything personally when it comes to that. But just be as easy as possible to look like the perfect match for the job. Just tailor your resume, tailor your portfolio to different types of jobs, different types of companies. Like if you generally don't care what kind of game you work on, put together and you work on a wide variety of stuff. Have a resume or portfolio that's tailored toward hand-pan fantasy art, one that's toward gritty sci-fi, one that's realistic war game type stuff. Just try and just tailor that subtly toward that, which doesn't necessarily mean that you shouldn't include at least some pieces showing you do have some kind of range, but at least put the stuff that's most relevant to what you're applying for front and center.
I mean, if you've got your portfolio and it's out there and it's got what you need in it to get you in front of a company, then they'll probably ask. If they need more, they'll ask to see more. And if you have more, that's great. But the point is, if you're good enough to get to that point, if you're good enough to get that level, you're probably going to, move on to the next stage.
Totally. That's a really great question, though, and I'm actually, I'm glad it was asked. Yeah. I think it's really damn valuable information. And honestly, I mean, like I said, I've always thought about doing that for portfolios. And to some extent, I'd done that with my resume, but I'd never thought to tell other people about that, which is very silly of me in retrospect, considering.
It's one of those concepts. There's a lot of obscure concepts or reverse thinking that just comes in any industry. But why would you look at a resume or a job application? You look at a job app and you get intimidated by that. Well, wait a minute. Why don't you say, well, I can do this, I can do that, I can do that. Just tell them. Who cares? So let's move on to the next one, which is kind of on that same tone of don't be scared, homie. Is it true you should just ignore about a minimum of 1 to 3 years experience, or to add to that, like AAA title, ship? It's a very common thing that when you see somebody puts a job app up, they say, you must have this much experience, and you must have shipped all these games, and you must be awesome, and woo. So, yeah, I think a lot of people have come to that point where they're like, yeah, that's just boogeyman. That's just jibber jabber. The point is,
I've never paid attention to that shit.
If you're not, if that stops you, then you don't have the confidence to do the job.
Yeah, and that's part of why they say it.
Exactly. It's all about confidence. If you can just say, "Nah, I'm good enough. I'm good enough."
Yeah, it weeds out people that don't think they're up for the job. It's basically it's like a self-selecting kind of thing. Like when I first realized that was the case was a few years ago when I was I think I was reading Slashdot or something, and someone was saying, I saw a job that was posting requirements that are ridiculous, like Java
must have been the president of the United States for 6 terms. Must have been the Dalai Lama.
Basically, yeah. Like the example they gave was saying, this. So Java had existed for 3 years, and this job required 15 years of Java experience. I know shit that is like absolutely impossible. I mean, I've always said job requirements are.
Hey, I need to hire somebody as a Twitter assistant with 15 years experience with Twitter.
20 years of UDK experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fucking wish list.
Sure.
I mean, at some point it does boil down to, like, we would like these requirements, but it's like we like as many of these as we can, and we're just basically going to tick the box. Like when we're interviewing a candidate, we're going to tick the boxes, get as much as we can right, and factor that into what's their personality like, what's the actual quality of their work, and then it's just like a gut level judgment. But I mean, you don't have to have every single thing nailed 100% to be able to get that kind of job. Like on paper, I've never been qualified for any job I've ever had based on the requirements.
Well, sure.
That they laid out beforehand. I want to make that really, really good.
The thing is, they're writing out clear. Like this perfect. They're writing out this perfect candidate thing, and in the real world, like you say, look, you have your faults as an employee, like you're trying to apply, but they have their faults on the other end, and their faults are the fact that, yeah, they want this perfect employee that's going to be able to do all these things listed here, but obviously most of the people that are going to apply do not fit these like, it's obvious. It's really hard to get a good hire.
It is.
Like a really good, reliable, long-term hire that everything is going to work out consistently throughout the project, and there's not going to be any problems. And yeah, I mean, you could look at a place that has 100 people. Well, that means that thousands of people applied.
Yeah,
and sometimes people get in that aren't really so great, but that's just part of the process too.
Yeah. Sometimes they need people, and you have to make compromises. Sometimes people just do really well in an interview. Sometimes people just choke and don't work out. But that's the nature of the game. And I'd say anecdotally, maybe only 25% of the people I know in games have ever worked one place longer than 3 years.
Ooh, I'm one of them.
You are one of them, and that is amazing. Like, anytime I see someone that's worked at the same company for more than 5 years, I'm astonished. I think the longest I ever worked in any one place continuously is just over 2 years. But that's just a matter of almost every fucking place I've worked has layoffs or is shut down completely.
Well, layoffs, yeah, that's always going to happen.
Yeah, and that is a factor. But I mean, even just finding any kind of longevity in a career in games is difficult, and we've still yet to have even one game developer that I know of retire.
Yeah, retire.
Yeah,
Wow.
Still waiting. I know a lot of people leave games, but I've never heard of a single person that has worked in games that has just flat out retired, like straight up video games.
And I was just thinking about this the other day. I don't know. I have to look. I'd really have to look it up and try to figure this out. What I consider the very first day that I say, oh, I'm in the game industry. But I know it was sometime in September. It was like when I got my very first piece of money, or title was shipped, or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
So this month, September, I'm officially 15 years in.
Congratulations, fucking A, dude.
Yeah, it's just my birthday is then. My game industry birthday, which I consider more important than my own birthday.
Same.
Because my own birthday, it's like, oh yeah, I was born, it was great. Now that I'm not like a child, and I don't get birthday presents, and I don't care. Look, it's my birthday, maybe we'll go get dinner, it'll be awesome. We'll go drinking or something, it'll be great. But, it's not really that big a deal. We don't have a party, we don't have a cake. It'd be fun to do.
Yeah.
But I'm not, I don't have to have that. I'm not into that. I don't need gifts. It's fine. I'm doing great.
Dunno.
But, yeah, it's somewhere around then. And
15 years.
Yeah. And I also I always remember the first day, when I get a new job, I always remember the first day I was hired. I think my first day I actually started when I was there at the studio was November 21st, 2009 for Ilphonic. So when that comes around this year, it'll be my 2 year.
Nice.
I'm totally going to ask for a raise.
Nice.
That's what you're supposed to do after 2 years, right?
That's true. I always waited. I always waited a month, but never really worked that well.
Nice. Dude, it's totally sweet when you get it. You ever actually got one?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Like a kind of insulting one. I end up quitting.
A lower one? Well, not lower in pay, but it was not a much.
No, it was really fucking insulting. I ended up leaving not too long after that for a variety of reasons, but that was like a slap in the face. But yeah, I've gotten raises. But I mean, like I said, most of the places I've worked, it's been less than 2 years, just for whatever reasons. Generally, layoffs or studio shutdowns, as I haven't had the opportunity. But yeah,
that was actually the point I was trying to get to that I didn't at all. That I was going to say, it's one of the things that I've felt another one of the things that I've felt blessed about my own career is I've never been fired or laid off, or not laid off. I've never been fired. I've never been quit from a job. Either everybody was laid off, like a blanket layoff, and that got me, or there was no more work to do.
Nice.
Like, one could argue that I quit at 40 Rulers, but we weren't doing anything. There was nothing there. There was no money. There was nothing to do. We're just sitting there, twiddling our thumbs, waiting for them to say no more money. So I just look, I'm out.
Yeah. What are you going to do, right?
Yeah, there's no project. So yeah, that's what I mean there is more. It's not more about me there. It's more about my personal attention to or love for the project I'm on. The fact that I wouldn't quit. Because I've had projects that have gone really, really bad, but I just don't want to. I don't want to give up on it. I always want to give it that potential. Maybe it's the light at the end of the tunnel. Maybe it's going to work out. Look at that big cat. Big fat puss.
I am listening. She's just very needy.
No, it's great because I got things to talk about. Check this out. Sunday, I got to do a guest speaking for the UDK Learning University.
That's
the ULU.
That's fucking awesome. Yeah.
I'll probably tweet and link the video or whatever once it comes up. But
actually, you should links. Just an idea I just had. Links we talk about during the CrunchCast. We should put below each post on the Crunch Studio site.
We could probably start doing that. It's not a bad idea,
especially for something like that.
Yeah, definitely. No, it was a good time. They're basically just a small group of guys that are doing a big UDK training project for people, and they're going through the whole process of making a game, and they all seem like really good guys, and they were really, really positive, and it was a good time. I enjoyed it.
Very cool.
So yeah, we'll link that up. Basically, I just talked about UDK and games. Yeah, there's always somebody that comes up with the kind of jerkish question, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And there was somebody that rolled in with the why wasn't Warhammer Online successful?
It's like, why wasn't your mom fun in bed?
I'm like, now hold on a second. The servers are still up for this game that was released, an MMO that was released in 2008. The APB servers were shut down within 3 months. The Auto Assault servers were shut down within 6 months. And name all the other MMOs you want to name that came out after Warhammer and have been shut down. And it's like dozens. So yeah, Warhammer didn't do super great. But the servers are still up, son.
That's damn nicely done.
Yeah, that's what I said. That was my initial response. But then, my secondary response was, I was an artist. What am I supposed to do to make a,
You're not fucking Mark Jacobs. I mean,
I wasn't being the head over at EA telling people what to do, flying in a golden helicopter.
I can't believe a golden helicopter even got off the ground.
It's too heavy. It didn't work
Miracle
out.
of science.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's awesome. You're like really getting recognition for all the crazy cool shit you do for fun in the UDK community.
Well, that's part of it. I'm absolutely sure of that. I think the CrunchCast did play a role as well.
Nice.
I think part of the reason the CrunchCast played a role is the fact that you say, oh man, who'd be willing to talk? How about this guy that talks every week for 90 minutes on YouTube about something that, for all he knows, nobody could ever listen to or care about? This is such a niche thing to talk about the video game industry, because the industry is small.
Very. But yeah, I mean, I'm not as into podcasts as you are, but you're the only one I know of for games, and you can go in front of a camera, you can talk, you've been doing this, and you know what the fuck you're doing. There's so many people that I've seen over the years that they'll try and get into games, but they'd rather publicize themselves and what they do, and try and just like start teaching and getting immediately and getting prominent, and just sort of creating some kind of following without having having very little, if any, actual talent.
Oh, sure.
And I'm talking about like a few people. I mean, like not even the most obvious ones. I mean, but a lot of people seem to try and do that really quickly. But I mean, I feel like you can see through them pretty fast. Yeah. But you're a vet. You've been doing this. You know what the fuck is up, and I think this is a really special thing.
Well, the original reason I started writing tutors, and we talked about this before, was about taking notes, because I always write down everything. At some point, I realized I could organize this and document it for people, and that was the reason I did it. And I'll tell you what, there has been dozens of times where I'm sitting there working on a level in UDK, and I'm all like, oh snap, how do I do that? And I go to my own tutorial page and look it up. because I told you, you forget things. I do this. I do this constantly because I know that I got my docs right here, and I can look them up anywhere. It's good to go. I'm like, oh God, how do I set up blank? Oh, there it is. It's right here on my website. Thank you, me.
No, if your website went down,
I'd be screwed. No, I have it all. I have it all local.
No, thank you, me. Fucking name. No, that's awesome though. That's why to do it.
That's just really the only reason I do it, because I honestly forget stuff. So I need to have this stuff written down just for my own. I need it, man.
And that's similar to why I write and why I blog and speak. I like, in a weird way, everything I do, everything I say, everything I write and speak about and care about, it's basically like if I could tell myself something, I could stand back in time to tell a younger self, this is exactly what you fucking need to know to get
That's
shit
kind
done.
of exactly what it is, man. When I go to my own website, yeah. But it's the other way around. I'm like, when I go to my own website and look at my own tutorial for how, there's some very specific, very technical things that sometimes you can forget them. It's very easy to do. So it's like a message from the past.
It's like some kind
open
of
up a time capsule.
Quantum leap shit going on.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I That's kind of cool. Like you and I are both in it for like really, really similar reasons. I just write down and talk about everything I wish I'd known. And if I ever do figure out a way to send that stuff back in time, then I'm taking over the industry, motherfuckers. Although by
the president of the game industry.
That's a wonderful in-joke, folks.
Yes.
That I told that to my girl, and she just fucking died laughing. That was awesome. The president of the games industry.
Yes. Now I got the idea from that. From if you look this up on YouTube, Tiny Fuppets, like Muppet but with an F. Was the name of that funny, or did you actually see this?
The name was just fucking
funny.
It's
a funny fucking name.
I about spit, dude.
Yeah, I should have waited for you to stop drinking before I said the name, because it's a funny name. Okay, Tiny Fuppets. TinyFuppets. What this is it's basically like the Muppet Babies, which was an old cartoon back in the 80s, probably, or early 90s.
Yep.
Based on the Muppets as babies. But it's all in Portuguese, I think. But it's this whole, like, I can't explain it. It's this whole weird, and there's this whole weird, I'm pretty sure they made it themselves, this rivalry with another YouTube show called The Junior Minis, which is also a parody of the Muppet Babies. But the guy that's the creator of the Tiny Fuppets, he does these speeches about how the Junior Minis are ripping him off. And the show itself, the writing style of this show is so bizarre that you'll probably be educated by a few words that they use via translation to English. Are you watching it right now or something, John?
Yes. Let's raise the funds to leave the squalid house.
Dude, you're watching the Internet episode, right?
Yeah. Internet Follies, yeah.
Internet Follies was the first one I saw. Somebody posted it on spaceghetto.st. And that's what turned me on.
Don't go to Space Ghetto at work.
Yeah, not safe for work.
Or lunch.
Or if you work for Ilphonic, it's very safe for work.
That is true. You guys have a pretty cool workspace. But
we have a Skype channel at work, which is great because everybody that at work is in the Skype channel. So when there's things like when you have a really basic question, or you made an update to some file or some new whatever game dev crap, instead of having to get up, walk over to somebody, bother them, blah blah blah, this and the other, you can just go bop. That's me typing. You go, this is up, and you Skype it, and then everybody can be like, oh, there it is. But most of the time, the chatter is just like dicks, pictures from Space Ghetto, furry porn, horrible things. The whole idea, like juggalos, hipsters. The whole idea is like either it's serious and about work or trolling everyone else. So yeah, we
that's a great divide.
Mm-hmm. We have a good time.
Game companies. The company I used to work for, we actually nearly brought down the email server once, just sending back hot Asian porn to one another. Like our IT guy was saying, we're quit replying to all and quit quoting every single picture in every single reply. We're up to 4 gigs per email.
Yeah, I remember the old days when we used to do that. They'd reply, and you have this big email of like stack, boom, 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 all the way down. I was like, oh god. See, we don't even use our mail as much. We used to do it a lot, like goofy stuff over email. Now it's all in the Skype channel, and that's really useful. It saves us a lot of bandwidth or whatever. Anyway, hey, really quick, you feel about talking about your own personal future plans now that you got johnjones.com? Is there anything you'd like to do with this site? Do something new with it? Or just kind of stay the course, Ronald Reagan?
Honestly, I hadn't really thought too much about future plans.
Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
I don't know where I see myself in the next month, and I never have.
I'm just giving you some nice lead-ins so I can go AFK. The internet.
Okay, that's fine. So right now I'm running my company, Smartest, for Smart Artist. And I'm an art producer, outsourcing manager. I also work as an agent for artists. I'm also doing some light recruitment work. Basically anything that involves connecting an artist to or an artist or a studio to a game developer and making art happen. I'm basically making that the entire crux of my business and my life, really. And my blog has always been sort of my portfolio, in a sense, like my professional writings on the subject of outsourcing, both for outsourcing managers and for artists. And I'm actually going to be creating a CrunchCast page on that on the site, just sort of linking to that whole thing, start pimping it out more. I want to do more magazine articles. I'm going to be writing more blog articles as well. I'm starting to get a lot more organized and get a lot more I want to get back on a regular posting schedule and start blogging more about the stuff I'm doing to run my business and how I'm transitioning into freelancing. One of my biggest things I'm getting into is cloud computing and basically how to work online, keeping my entire business and everything online so I can access anything from anywhere. And just the stuff I'm learning about, how to get paid, how to negotiate, how to read a contract. Everything that a freelancer may not necessarily know how to do that I have some experience with, but am still learning as I go. And I'm finding there are a lot of people that are interested in learning about that. And I feel like, in a weird way, I feel like my destiny is to write and teach and try to explain things to people because I'm willing to be brutally fucking honest and even to the point where I may make myself look really bad, but I figure if I'm honest about it and try and teach other people, it kind of evens out. But I want to turn my blog back into more of that and have it be more of a platform and a vehicle for just meeting more great artists, meeting more great game developers, more art studios, and just helping connect cool people with other cool people, and try and get more of that going on and all that looped into my johnjones.com domain. This kind of, a bit off the top of my head, and a bit of it is just wildly disparate thoughts, just hurling at random hours of the day and night. But in a nutshell, that's kind of what I'm thinking. So, Chris, what do you think about everything I said, including the stuff you said? I said while you were gone.
I think it's great. I agree with everything.
Good
I think
answer.
You're a smart guy and are going to go places. And you deserve everything you get.
Everyone's always told me that, but I've always been unnerved by the
What was that? Remember we talked about this before. What is this type of talk when you say to somebody a certain type of phrase, and based on their current attitude or personal belief of where they're at in life, they take it in a positive or negative way. Like when someone is really kicking ass, and you say, "Man, whatever you get, you fucking deserve it, man, because you were working hard," like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But if you say that to somebody that believes that doesn't believe in themselves, that feels that they have a fault in what they're doing and they're not at the top of their game, they take it negatively and might respond negatively, or might kind of bottle it inside and say, "That guy is a dick." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Do you remember the term for that?
No, I don't.
I don't even remember either.
Damn.
If you remember the term for that, message us at contact us at contact@crunchcast.com.
Random anecdote, sort of relating to that. Something I try really hard to do, but I don't always. Something which I don't always succeed is. I've always had really good results in trying to deal with people, even difficult people, even really shitty people. Is don't talk to them as they are. Talk to them as though you're talking to the person they wish that they were. Basically, speak to the best of them, speak to their aspirations, and people will really open up, and doors will open for you, and you'll have much better interactions with people in general.
One piece of advice I heard was always talk to people like you're on a date with someone and you're trying to make a good impression.
That's good advice.
The idea isn't that you're, bullshitting. The idea isn't that you're faking it. The idea is you're bringing out only the best in yourself.
That is good.
I try to do that with this podcast. One of the biggest things I try to avoid with this podcast is talking crap, like trying to avoid specifically knocking anyone down for any specific reason. I try to keep it as positive as possible. I know you like to do that, and that's your thing, and that's fine.
What was that about keeping it positive?
Yeah, HIV positive.
No, I can shit talk like me, kind of a bastard. I'm trying to clean up my act a little bit.
I know you like to sneak in things there too. There was a few times you did it tonight where I know you were specifically thinking about people.
Well, see, in that case, I was actually thinking about 2 or 3 other people, other completely different people first, and then as soon as I said that, I realized, oh God, I guess that applies to that guy too. I wasn't even singling him out.
You know what? That's
even though it totally applies.
If there's anything that could be said about that, it's like there's been so many cases of where people just fall in the same patterns, the same strange behavior that's not what they need to be in a particular time in their life or whatever. But it happens. The same patterns happen to so many different people. It's so strange. Is it like what you're saying there? Is you can make an anecdote about somebody from 10 years ago, and then somebody 3 years later did the same thing. Somebody 3 years later than that did the same thing. But oh no, recently somebody else did the same thing.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
So it's like, oh, I'm making an anecdote about a general thing that I see lots of people do. Like you see somebody, oh, this guy, he just likes to walk across the street, even when the lights the lights are red and cars are trying to go, and he's just walking. He's going to get hit one of these days. Mm-hmm. And you've seen plenty of people do that. I've seen hundreds of people do that in my life. But if there's someone in particular that remembers me seeing them do that, right now they're thinking, oh, he's talking about me.
Yeah.
But you know what? If you think that, hey, maybe you need to think about what you're doing.
That's an excellent point. But yes.
Yeah, okay, so let me see if we can work really quickly here into the other question of the night, which is about environment art. Oh. And the basic implementation of environment art, if we will. Look, we could talk about this a long time, and it could be spanned over several different podcasts and this, that, and the other. But we'll just try to wrap it up into a few basic concepts, and we'll start it off really simple. Like, okay, if I'm making a prop, an environment, whatever, my favorite thing is if I have a piece of concept art that clearly displays what is needed, what's necessary. However, the idea that you're going to get a piece of concept art that is like a nicely painted perspective view, and then nicely penciled orthographic views, the chance that you're going to get that is pretty rare. You've got to be working on a high level, like a god piece, like the main character, to get that type of concept art. So a lot of times they're just like, hey, make this. The end. And you have to make your own, excuse me. From there you might have to make your own collage of reference art. You find everything you can, get some things together. Maybe you pencil in a few ideas, like a quick drawing of that, putting them all together, but not necessarily. Once you got that collage, that's a great start. Yeah, you go from there. Shoot, you got to do some placeholder modeling. Get that thing in place. Get it in game. Make sure all your shapes are right. Make sure your scales are proportionate. Throw a checker texture on there.
Make sure the game doesn't ship with it.
Mm-hmm. Make sure the game doesn't ship with the checker on it. But yeah, you throw a checker texture on there. Make sure those UVs are nice. You get those UVs real nice. Then you got to paint that texture. If you're really lucky, you got a whole custom texture of everything. Otherwise, you got to take some tiles that are already made and make your art look good.
And pretend you're an artist while you're doing it.
Yeah. But hey, I tell you what, I always thought it was really awesome when I'm on a project that's big enough to have enough people doing art in the same theme that I can take what they've already done and use it in a new, imaginative way.
And that's efficiency. That's the ideal, and that is not.
That's not cheating.
Compromising. Yeah, it's not cheating. It's not cheating. That's production reality. That kind of thing, being able to do that sort of thing in the long view, that's the kind of shit that prevents layoffs and saves people their fucking jobs.
I've been at places that no one shared any of the art, and I never really understood why. I was always like, hey, why don't we make libraries? Send email artist, director. But they were just ridiculous. Like, everything was like, oh, it's mine. But I've been at other companies where it's so, use all this. So-and-so made this building. Take his building, make a different one that's kind of like it. Using all his same assets that are done. And, if it was just somebody's art and you downloaded it and posted it, you'd be stealing. But at a company, that's teamwork. That's using existing assets. Like, why would you repaint the same hay texture over and over for a straw roof?
Just fundamentally, in a studio or working on a project, you're not in it for you.
Yeah,
you're a part of the. Yeah, you're a part of the team.
How many brick walls do we need?
Yeah, like, how many people are wasting their time redoing something needlessly when they could be working on something else, creating more content for the game, creating more value for the game, instead of just having it be dick measuring and being territorial and being inefficient and terrible. I mean, you want to make a game the best you can, as big as you can, and invest time in things that make sense. Why reinvent the brick wall?
The brick wall, yeah. A few more things about just environment props. Silhouette, profile.
I'll be back in 1 moment.
Okay, but I know how much you love silhouette and profile.
Point.
No, I'm just saying, you do love silhouette and profile, and that's super important. Look, if you got a piece, and it looks like a box, and it's a box, so that's going to look like every other box in the level. Anything that happens to be a boxy shape, it looks just like that. And a box is a very, very basic profile. So even if something has a box within it, but then a more exciting profile around that, then that means that thing that is just a box will be hidden in profile to everything else that has the box within its profile.
And things have to be read at a distance.
Yes.
Understand where those things are. I mean, like, how they're supposed to be viewed. Like, right now I'm working on helping produce some concept art for a game that's actually doing full-on displacement mapping for characters instead of normal mapping. And one of the things we're... Do what?
So that's high end.
It's amazing.
Is that for the Xbox 4? Or whatever they call in the next one?
I do not know / cannot say.
Okay, cool.
But one of the things we're really pushing is, with normal mapping, I mean, you're going to... Well, silhouette is important no matter what, but we're pushing it really to the next level. And just in that, we're able to do a lot more than we can, than we'd normally able to do with just normal maps. So we're going for really, really crazy, insane detail. So in the concepts, one of the biggest things I've been pushing throughout all the art production is push the silhouette, push the silhouette, push the silhouette. This is going to be viewed from many different sizes, like many different angles, from many different distances. And so on the concept, I would actually have the artists include a version scaled down, say, to 50%, to 25%, to 10%, to see how well that silhouette holds up at different distances. Because, I mean, you can have all the detail in the world, but if you can only see it when you're 2 feet away from the character, if you're up against, if it's like a multiplayer deathmatch game or something, how often are you going to see the other character directly in front of your face sitting still?
Never.
Most of the time you're going to see him at a distance. And Team Fortress 2 is a great example of that. Like they did like that Team Fortress 2 art direction PowerPoint, where they showed the concept production process of every single class in TF2 and how they push the silhouette to make them incredibly distinctive from a distance. So the mind can instantly process what they're looking at, even if they're just a few pixels tall on the screen. Have you seen that?
Say what?
The Team Fortress 2 art direction.
Oh, God, yes, I have. That whole PDF you're talking about, right?
Yes, that is the fucking master
One
class.
of the oldest things, I remember you told me this like a long time ago, and you're like, you should apply like a just totally blank black material to whatever you're working on, and just zoom all the way out to it's the size of like a postage stamp or a quarter, like it's very tiny. And if you can't, recognize it, then get back to work, you piece of shit.
Yeah, everything turns to mud at a distance. And that's why, actually, something you told me, like back in just like the just straight diffuse texture painting days, you always try, like for Nano in particular, you always try to have the bodily extremities have a distinctly different color than the rest of the model. Like like the hands, the feet, and the head are colored in such a way that they stand out, so it's easier to be able to track their movement when they're animating.
Yeah.
And just if you have like a character that's facing you, but they're doing all sorts of like crazy kung fu shit or something, if it's all the same color and it's at a distance,
It's all just
you're
mud.
not going to be able to discern. Yeah, you're not going to be able to discern any kind of motion whatsoever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey, you like colors, sir?
People
Anyway.
like colors.
Hey, what were you going to go do?
I was going to check in my kitchen. There was
All right.
about 5 gallons of water on underneath my oven in my fridge. Last I checked, I want to make sure my cats aren't drinking it.
Yeah,
It's
go
a
for
risk.
it. You have to take care of that puss.
You know how I do.
I worked with Australians at one point, and he referred to a cat as a puss. And from then on, that's the only way I think of cats, as a puss. So yeah, let's talk about environment art just a little bit more. That whole process. For me, generally, okay, like I said, if you don't have a great piece of concept art to start with, and you just kind of have to pull it out of your ass, which is most of the time that's what's going to happen, and that's, what you have to deal with. So I would just sometimes there's a few schools of thought here. Sometimes it's just start making pieces that would fit in the set, like the most simple things. Like say you're doing some temples or whatever, or some dungeons. Maybe you make some rubble, and you say, okay, I got this rubble, and I like this rubble. This is working out. You take those pieces from the rubble and you build other things out of it. Or you go the other way around, where you say, I'm going to make this type of doorway, or I'm going to make this type of wall. This is what it's going to be. This is the materials everything's going to be made out of. And then you take pieces from that and make rubble out of that. It just depends on whatever is suiting you at the time. There's a lot of this is your own personal preference. As an artist, some people like to start different ways. Sometimes I like to make a high poly model and kind of bake everything out. Sometimes I like to paint a texture that has a bunch of trims across it and model something that these trims are applied to. Yeah, it's really all about what type of environment you're making and the type of piece you're making as well. Once you're happy with your own technique and you're happy with what you're doing, always try a new technique. Almost everything I do, I use some sort of different technique or a variation of technique. It just all depends. The mood you're in, the type of piece you're making. So much of this is so dependent. So who can really say this is the way to do it in the end? But if you get it and you're happy with it, everything's working out. Get this thing in a real-time scene, man. Unity, Unreal, all this shit's here. Do it. Hey, John, you're back. How's your kitchen?
Gross. I had to go up to here into my sink to try and unclog what I could. It's about 2 weeks worth of horrible food leavings.
Eeks. I've had something like that before, so I can kind of, I can kind of understand. But hey, that's a total first world problem. Check this out, dude. There's this other company that works in our same building, and one of the guys broke his arm. He was biking, I guess, and something happened, and he fell off of the bike and broke his arm.
What a jerk.
What an asshole. No, and he broke his arm. It's the upper.
Oh, that's not a good.
So he's got this giant cast. It's like humongous because he's like he's not a very big guy. He's like small and thin, but this cast on his arm is giant, and it's shaped like around his shoulder and around. So it actually looks like a muscle arm, like you remember those Hulk hands that have the muscles in them?
Yes.
It kind of the cast is kind of shaped like that.
Awesome.
But
Dude, you should totally put the Hulk hand on over the end of that arm.
I gotta find somebody with Hulk hands. Stat. No, but I feel really bad for the guy. I've broke my arm a couple times. I've actually got metal plates on my arm now. I've got a huge scar. But anyway, so I could relate. And I felt nothing but compassion for the guy because a broken bone is a terrible thing.
Yeah.
However, I did bring up your poor pinky. I brought up the anecdote. Weren't you involved in a situation a few years back with a product where a guy broke his hand and he had to hire you to do some work for him?
I don't remember this. Was this me?
I think it was you. Or somebody else.
Maybe somebody else. I don't remember being a male prostitute.
All right. Well, it was just a basic outsourcing gig. It was a very simple prop. It was very simple, like a skeleton, like the ribs and the head like sits out on a level like a big dead animal. Anyway,
that I remember doing. I don't remember the hand breaking part of it. I have a terrible memory. That
might have been an embellishment of the story. Like, we landed on the moon. I'm just playing.
I did that for a project once.
Anyway, yeah.
Sorry, I totally blew your story.
Nah, you did great. Everything worked perfectly. Point is, be careful if you bust up your arm and it's your art arm, then it's really hard to work.
Yeah, it does suck. The guy broken, I think, almost every single finger and every single knuckle and every single toe at least once in my life. And the art hand sucks.
Yeah, I've only broken my right hand twice, and forearm, and I've broken a rib, and that sucked.
Oh, I remember the rib thing. Yeah,
that was recently. Anyway, hey, we talked about this earlier. I updated my super gallery.
Your super gallery.
It was pretty funny. If you go to chrisholden.net/gallery, or check my Twitter, Facebook, or G+, where I posted it.
Listen to my typings.
Wow, you're totally going to the website now. I can tell. No, what this is, it's really bullshit, honestly. It's just me just jacking off onto the internet for everyone to see. Basically, I tried to save as much old art as I can, and a bunch of images that some are like, oh yeah, I want to save this and show it off to everybody, and some is just like, well, this is okay, but I made it. There it is. Very whippy stuff, and a lot of tests and whatnot all the way through. But it's over 400 images and over about 10 years worth of art in here.
You have the largest body of work of virtually anyone I've ever known, over so fucking many styles.
Oh shucks.
No, honestly, I don't know. I mean, I'm amazed and pissed off that you have so much energy outside of work to be able to do this kind of thing.
Dude, did you see? Did you see the Holden in Game Developer that I put up there?
Oh shit, no, dude! Oh my god, was that ad that got stolen?
Yeah, let me drop it on you.
That was so freaking funny. So Holden Vardner or Vardner?
Holden Vardunner.
Vardunner.
So what I managed to do?
I've been pronouncing it wrong this whole time.
thanks to the Internet Archives that I've been able to dig up, I was able to dig up the original texture that I painted, which was made in Quake 2 palette, which was garbage. The Quake 2 palette was only brown and shit.
Like every game today.
And there's a picture of the character on here somewhere, like as a model. Anyway, but yeah, I got the ad. It's called Holden in Game Developer. I gotta scroll down to it now. What happened was, me and John used to make a lot of Quake 2 player models, and this particular one was one we made. We're like, oh, we're going to make a whole total conversion for Quake 2, and we made a bunch of levels, and everything was custom art. We had monsters and characters and whatnot, levels. Everything was custom, even custom palettes. That's how we roll. Debabbilizer Pro. But yeah,
I was trying to remember the name of it.
That was the one. I haven't used that tool since. Anyway. One of the characters me and John had made over that time was this guy named Holden, and it was kind of a weird thing because it was actually a historic character because it was the very first Quake 2 plug-in player model that had 100% complete, like, custom visible weapon support. And what that meant was, in Quake, you had all these weapons, like your shotgun, your rocket launcher, and etc., etc., all these guns. But what this character was, because it was for a total conversion, when we had all our own custom weapons, he had his own custom guns already done that replaced those existing ones. But when it was released as a player model for Quake 2, that meant that all these custom weapons were now just replacements for the existing weapons. So
which is fucking sweet.
Yeah, so historically we had that, and we had sounds, several skins for it. And look, it wasn't great. At the end of the day, look, it was a Quake 2 player model. It sucked. But at the time, it was a lot of fun for us. We weren't making any money. We were just doing this stuff for fun, and it just happened to be what it was. And a few years later, all of a sudden, this localization company in Germany posts an ad, and there this motherfucking character is in the ad holding the gun that I made, and John made a few of these guns as well.
Which was fun.
Yeah, I think you made like the crossbow, and I don't remember what else, but you made a bunch of them. We were like half and half. Like I modeled half, you modeled another half. Anyway, what a weird thing to have happened.
It was so freaking weird. Yeah, I remember when you found that, and we were both just like, what the fuck, man?
Oh yeah, Baron Von Apple Cider. Baron VAC.
Gethnor Pillar Cam.
Yeah, we made so many characters. It was a good time. That was basically how we got started, making this Quake 2 player models. They tried to integrate people making like Unreal Tournament character models, but it was impossible back then. Apparently.
Hang on one quick sec. Something just occurred to me.
From the past or the future?
It's occurred to me that until right now, neither of us had registered a CrunchCast on Twitter.
What, like as a user?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense.
I just did. I'm going to change the email address over to something for you and get you the password to that. But, something we were going to talk about earlier, the Netflix and Quickster.
Oh, yeah, you like this.
So, did you see the Twitter account for that?
What? For
Quickster?
No, I don't. Totally out. Totally out of the loop on this whole topic.
Okay, so Netflix. I'm going to paraphrase it pretty badly. Netflix announced a price hike recently, where it used to be for.
The internet was mad about this.
Yes, for like $8.95 a month. It used to be you could get, I think, one DVD out per month plus unlimited streaming. But they changed it, so now you can either have unlimited streaming for $8.95 a month, or unlimited streaming plus one DVD for $16.95 a month. So basically, their prices double overnight, which is severely fucking lame. So they lost 1 million subscribers and lost, I think, $6 billion on paper, just in terms of their stock price and everything, within 2 months of announcing this. So earlier this week, they announced, we are so sorry. We understand that all the backlash, blah, blah, blah. So what we're going to do is we're going to keep Netflix, but it's going to be streaming only. And then we're going to start a new company called Quickster, Qwikster. It's going to be the DVD mailing business. So basically, they're going to rip their user base in half.
Ooh, I hate it.
And it's a fucking stupid, horrible name, and they're basically trying to make it seem like it's a response to the consumers, but it's just fucking them over even more. And people hate it even more than the price hikes. But the funny thing is, they did not think to secure the name Quickster on Twitter.
Uh-oh.
And this guy is like this practically illiterate, just poor, profane, just very, very 420 friendly dude that all of a sudden has tens of thousands of followers and doesn't know why. Didn't get his fucking name
so
first.
Sweet.
Oh my god, it is hysterical. I mean, this whole thing has been botched absolutely beyond belief. It is. I'm sure it's embarrassing for them, but I'm enjoying it immensely. So, yeah, in 3 days, this dude is up to, please page load, 12,000 followers.
What? That reminds me. Okay, so check, this Friday, which is the September 23rd. I've got tickets to see Joe Rogan at the Denver Paramount Theater with Mad Flavor, Joey Coco Diaz, and Ari Shaffir. Me and Brian McConnell are going to that. It's going to be great. Unfortunately, I bought all those tickets, which are just 2, which we're very lucky. We got them very early thanks to the pre-sale code that Rogan tweeted. That's how I found out. And I'm like, boom, buying them instantly. As soon as I got that tweet, I was like, internet, let's go. You know, no big deal. But the point was, I only got 2 tickets because I didn't think about, okay, the UFC was the next day. And the UFC was literally, okay, so the UFC is September 24th, John Jones versus Quentin Rampage Jackson, Josh Koscheck versus Matt Hughes, and all kinds of other crazy fights that I have looked up and will talk about on the UFC CrunchCast that is coming up next, which will happen either late Friday night or Saturday morning, depending on how drunk we get Friday night.
That is a factor.
A fear factor.
Oh, I see what you did there.
No, but so that's going to be great. We're going to talk about all that. Well, what happened is I tweeted that about the whole Denver Paramount thing because when I bought the tickets originally, I immediately tweeted, I'm like, oh, I got these tickets, I'm so happy. And some Denver local thing retweeted it, and I was like, oh, that's cool. So I wanted to tweet these guys and let them know, hey, I'm coming to the show. I'm looking forward to it. I respect what you do. And I follow you guys on Twitter because you're funny as fuck.
Nice.
And look, if you're on Twitter, there's nothing better than removing everybody from your following list but comedians that only tweet funny crap all day. It'll brighten your day. You keep Twitter open all day and just tab over and you go, that's a joke. It's a... It'll really
jokes.
It'll really make you feel better. But what happened is I tweeted about this show, and Ari Shaffir retweeted it.
That's fucking awesome.
He's one of the comedians I'm going to go see, and I was like, oh, nice. And as soon as he did that, like all these people started following me, and I'm like, wow, that's awesome.
Block.
No, it was really cool. It's like, wow, it's the way this whole like network works. It's like, just because I made the point that I'm going to this show, like I had people that were local and non-local that were also like, oh, I'm interested in what you have to say now. Well, this is the way this whole internet works. It's so strange and very interesting. Like there's a lot of people that you would never talk to or never want to meet, or maybe you're not compatible to hang out with, but you have a similar view. Like maybe you agree about one thing a lot, but everything else, nope. So yeah, I mean,
like Twitter is just a really interesting way of just lightly conversing with people. It's almost, I mean, I see it as like an IRC channel you can always be in on any device you want, but you can choose which people in the channel to listen to. There's no pressure to step in or talk to these people, and you can go into and out of a conversation easily. And you can take it private really easily, but it's just like this really cool, free-form, free-flowing thing that doesn't require you to have to force the other person to make you their friend in order to be able to see what they write. It's pretty goddamn brilliant. And I'm a huge, I'm a huge fan of Twitter, and for this reason, I feel like in a weird way I feel it's like contributing to the decline of literacy in our culture, but in another weird way, I feel like it's the future. No. And I feel there's like a big overlap there. I'm half kidding.
Brevity.
About the first part.
What is that? Brevity is
the mother of invention.
Yeah, no. Isn't it the something of wit or something to the soul? How's the quote go? Damn it! I'm gonna Google this right now.
I feel like the word brevity is the essence of wit.
Yeah, there it is, exactly. Brevity is the essence of wit. And Twitter forces you into expressing yourself in under 140 characters. So, yeah. Stephen Wright's publishing a whole book via Twitter.
Really?
Yeah.
That's Stephen Wright?
Stephen Wright, the comedian that's always like really deadpan. He's like, how's that spot joke go? He's like, I got. Okay, I'll forget that joke. Another joke I know he did. He goes, I want to get a tattoo. I want to get a full body tattoo of myself, but taller. Like, he's that comedian. He's the guy that's like, I say a joke really deadpan like that. I was the guy on the couch in the movie Half Baked. Like, he's a hilarious comedian, amazing comedian.
It's my favorites.
And he's doing his own novel on Twitter.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't even know he was still alive. I remember, like,
He's not Mitch Hedberg. He's not George Garofalo. Or, wait, did I say it wrong? I said it really wrong. I apologize for that.
Is that her brother? You talking about Zach Galifianakis?
No, I meant to say,
He got lost in his beard, but he's better now.
damn it. Greg Giraldo.
Oh yeah, Greg Giraldo.
I'm sorry, I apologize for just blowing that name bad.
No, it's okay.
But
thanks for bringing up the dead guy.
But no, that was a comedian that I used to love. He was hilarious. He was awesome, and it just sucks. And then him and Mitch Hedberg the same. That just sucks because I love comedians. Mitch Heisenberg. I didn't say that. I said Hedberg.
I know. I was riffing off the. Anyway.
No, God, those guys were so funny. I miss those guys. Either way, I think Louis C.K. and Joe Rogan will be alive for a long time. So
I fucking hope so.
Because they have daughters.
Good.
They have kids.
Those
good. Other guys didn't have kids. That's why they died.
See, aspiring comedians, impregnate as many women as possible because your future depends on it.
No, but get into it legitimately. Like, believe it.
Of course.
Okay, so you think we should wrap up pretty soon here, or how you feeling, John?
I slept maybe about 3 or 4 hours last night and had to be up early for an international conference call, and I'm waning. I think it'd be good to wrap up fairly soon.
Well, that's great because we've already been in this 100 minutes.
Studio. We're already when?
We're already in 100 minutes.
Criminy. Time always flies for these.
I told you, bro. I told you. I said, you were like, I don't feel so good. I'm like, look, 90 minutes in, you'll be like, I feel great. And here we are 112 minutes in 36 seconds, and you're like,
37.
I'm so happy. I want to talk forever. That's my impression of John. That's exactly how he talks.
I do actually sound like Cookie Monster.
Dude, that's
Chris,
how...
just amazing voice vocoding technology.
Dude,
in this podcast.
I don't know if we talked about it on the metal podcast. The band Belphegor, who are an awesome metal band. Mm-hmm. Between every song, the lead singer was talking like Cookie Monster. and me and Kedron were there at the show, and I kept looking at him, and I was like, "Ooh, I want cookies." And we were laughing, but he was kind of like. He kind of got it. Like, he was kind of in on the joke. Like, he was saying kind of funny things. And like I said, we talked about it on the metal podcast. But the guy was like, I can't remember any particular thing he said, but it was like, like, I'm the Cookie Monster. When he actually was singing, he was doing the full death metal or black metal voice. But between songs, he was hilarious. And I think he was in on the joke. If he wasn't, I apologize, but you really seemed like you were in on it.
You really sound like Cookie Monster.
You were pretty much Cookie Monster.
And I probably should never listen to that because I worked on a couple Sesame Street games, and every single character voice in that just drives me up the fucking wall now.
They tried to get Bert and Ernie married here, but it didn't work out. You know why? Because they're fucking puppets, people. They're fucking puppets. Just forget about your beliefs for just a second because they're puppets.
Well, to be fair, every other problem in the entire world has been solved already, and this is all we have left.
By the tiny puppets.
Puppets, dude. I swear to God, I spit and choked.
It's fun to say.
Puppets.
That's the only reason I tell anybody out about it. It's bullshit. The only reason I tell anybody because it's fun to say. Hey guys, listen to this word. It's funny. So yeah, let's promote everything. JohnJones.com. JONJONES.com. You go to this website and read his articles. They're old as shit.
That's true. I am working on one, a really fucking good one.
What's it about? My penis?
Well, yeah, it's my shortest article ever, but I think it's gonna be pretty good.
Snap! Way to come back. Congrats on you.
But it's basically on how to be the difference between a professional, and as far as contractors go, difference between a professional and amateur, and how they act, like in a Goofus and Gallant type type setting.
You should hire an artist to draw like the Goofus and Gallant style comics. I bet you could hire the guy that does Goofus and Gallant for highlights for cheaper than you sent boxes of bugs to your mother. Because you can do that, ladies and gentlemen. Tell these people what you can do. What did you do? You sent a box of 5,000 ladybugs, a box of like thousands of mealworms. What can you do?
5,000 live giant mealworms are about 1.5 inches long each and as thick as a pencil. 2,500 live ladybugs. Gosh, I feel like for Christmas, I can't remember if I told you this. For Christmas once, I got her some hand cream. It's like just a really nice hand cream, but I put it at the bottom of a bag of, I think, 10 pounds of fake dog shit and made her dig through it to get the gift.
You're the worst person ever.
Yes.
But if we promote this whole concept, then other people can be worse than you. And it'll all work out.
That's I want to prove myself. I'll just bring everybody else down around me, so I'll look better by comparison. It's easier.
You're doing God's work. So yeah, you go to johnjones.com. You check out what this a-hole is all about. If you like hey, I want more of that purple-headed guy that hates his mom. Go to johnjones.com. You'll learn a whole lot. What about these other square? Look, me, I'm all about chrisholden.net. That's just my portfolio, and it links back to crunchstudios.com, which hosts this podcast, and may host more down the road. Either way, we don't know. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna wrap this up. You got anything you want to tell? What do you want to tell these people?
Stay tuned for our next CrunchCast. It's going to be UFC centric, and I'm going to be live and in the studio.
You'll be right here in Denver, Colorado.
Oh shit! That Denver? I was going to Denver, Maine. Oh fuck, man.
Is there another Denver? Is there cheddar? It's that Galifianakis joke.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah.
Cool.
Thanks for checking with it. I'm gonna try and what I'm gonna try to do is play this video. And oh yeah, it's totally working, dude. It's totally working. I'm playing the CrunchCast as the outro, the song.
Nice.
I really want to. I've got this plan that I want to do this song again, like work on it some more. Make it long,
Make it long.